Oh boy, you swear you can teach somebody. You can lead them to water, but you can't force them to drink, huh? You can lead them to water, but you can't force them to drink. That's what we dealing with, teaching these old people how to use things in technology nowadays. They just seem to you teach them, and then it just goes in one ear and out the other. Just like they say with us when they were trying to teach us life lessons. Oh, it's in one ear and out the other. Yes, it's on the shoes on the other foot now. There's a hole. Teach me how to do this. We teach you how to do it. Then you're like, you forget literally 2 days later.
If that was true.
It is true. There is no if. It is true. What do you mean?
If that was true. No, no, no. We invested, like I said earlier before, we invested in the youth
Uh huh.
so that they will know the technology
Right.
that we didn't have when we were growing
Right.
up.
But what I'm saying is, why is it that when we teach you, it's the same thing when you were saying to us, oh, whenever I tell you something, it's in one ear, not the other. But when we tell you something about the technology that you're asking about, we tell you and then you forget 2 days later. Exactly.
Let's
Exactly.
chalk that up to old age. Just
Mm.
chalk that. We're getting
Oh, okay.
older, and we just the irrelevant stuff we just kind of cast aside,
Oh,
and the
okay.
more important stuff we put
So they you could say that's the
to
same
the
thing
back.
that we do when we're younger.
No, no,
Oh, so it's not? Oh, okay.
no, no, no.
I think it's a fair one for one.
You're probably right, and interesting you said that too, because what I want to talk about is how the youth, the people below me, are falling short, especially in our community, because all the devices they got out there and their way of thinking
Hmm.
is going to limit them in the future. They're not going to have the type of future that, you know, people my age and older have because they got so many things that are going against them.
Hmm.
First of all, technology. The thing that could be helpful is going to be their downfall. Instead of using it the right way, they use it in the wrong way. And you talk about the kind of stuff they say, stuff they post on social media, and things like that. That's going to hurt you in the long run. So don't think that you just do this stuff and put things out there, and the OnlyFans, the why the money, drugs, guns, and all this stuff. It's not going to affect you in the long run. This thing's going to follow you, and then you wonder why you won't be able to get a certain job, a certain profession, and do certain things. And this entrepreneurship thing that's going around, oh, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm an entrepreneur, the that's a fad. Most of those businesses are fad businesses. It's good for the moment. It's not going to be a long thing. It's not going to be for a long time. You're not going to retire off of that. So that's one thing. What do you say, Tack? What do you think?
I don't think it's just. I think it. Okay, to break it down piece by piece. Technology thing. Uh, I mean, that's not saying technology was going to be inevitable. Like that's just something as
How
you've
you
seen with.
use it though?
That's true, but it as time goes on, more innovative things come out, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, how you use it does definitely play a part, but eventually it's going to be a part. Like we're getting, you've seen Terminator. Not saying it's going to be the same thing as Terminator, but we're going to get to a point where something is can think on its own and doesn't need us to do anything. It's inevitable. As us as a species, we're always pushing the envelope to do better or make better things, and so with that, it's going to come with some downfalls. Um, Now, as far as using it, I mean, I guess it just depends. Eh, you want to try to use it for the right thing, but if it frees up, I mean, here's the thing. Here's the thing and all that. the most valuable thing that you have is time, right? So you want to do the right thing to do, use it to help you, like to shave off, the time that would go like back in the day when you had to buy like 18 books to do a research paper.
That's right. That's right. Correct.
So if you can shave that off, yeah, by all means, because you have a set clock once you come out the womb, and that starts ticking down, and then that's it. So as much time, if you can start saving time off of that, then yeah, but you don't want to use it the wrong way, because I mean, as people use it the wrong way, you're going to have those countermeasures that people are going to come up with to detect that. So it's like a checks and balances thing, because I know like when AI first came out, a lot of people were using it for like school and stuff like that, or whatever, to do their assignments. And now there's counter things to scan for AI, and you can blatantly tell nowadays when it's AI because it doesn't sound like like a human talking per se. Like
Right.
if you
But
reading
they're
it or
working on
whatnot.
technology. I've seen that. They're working on that to make it sound more
Right.
human.
But like I said, as they're doing that, they're also the schools. They're hiring the people to do those counterbalances. So that kind of just evens itself out. That's the only thing I see like the negative, or that I've heard of, as far as like technology in to that degree. I mean, I guess for like hacking, but like I said, those things are like checks and balances. They pay people. The government pays people to hack into things so that way they can come up with countermeasures in case that happens down the road. So it's not like there's one thing that's just rampant, as far as from what I've seen, that goes unchecked. So, and then the social media thing, I think that's a downfall for everybody. Because the minute it came out, you posted something day one, something off the wall, it's gonna come back to you. It always does. It always will, and always does. So that's just not my group. That's everybody who was around that had thumbs and was coherent to text on a smartphone. So everybody in your bracket, and maybe the bracket above you and down, were all susceptible to that, as far as I'm concerned. So if you said something, if you're stuck in your ways, you said something on Twitter, like, oh, they're not gonna go do anything to me, but I'm gonna say how I feel, whatever. Free space. I mean,
Yeah, but what I'm concerned about is in our community, we don't own enough things. We don't have the the backing or the the resources or the foundation to bounce back from uh negative I guess negative anything negative on you that you create, like if you go to jail or anything like that. If somebody with resources and a good foundation, like in other groups, they got means of forgiving them because they own it. They can forgive whoever they want to forgive. We don't own enough things to forgive our own people for things they do wrong in society. So what I'm saying is when you posting, and I got you with the AI stuff, that's gonna happen. There's nothing I can do to stop it, or you. Um, but when you're posting stuff at a young age,
mhm,
and this stuff is out there out there in the web. I'm gonna call it the web. Yeah, I'll probably call it something else, you. But out there on the network, and now you can't pull it back. It's
right.
out there. It's done. It's done. Now you're 30, 40. When you're 30s and your 40s, that that could come back on you.
Mhm.
So you think about it. If you plan on going into politics, that's out there. Now you got this out there. You might have changed your life. Everything might have changed, but they got that on you now. So it's so important with technology to use it wisely, especially in our community, because we don't have enough people in a position that might forgive you for your past transgressions.
Mhm. Well, I guess the
And
question
go
is who are the what kind of position would they need to be in to forgive you?
They
Because I
have to
mean,
own their own business. They have to own their own business and
mm,
see you say that, okay, you went through a trying time. You was trying to find yourself. You were out there. Uh, you made a mistake. I'm willing to take a chance on you.
right, but that's here's the thing. You know, and I know a good percentage of the population, not just our group, love drama. They don't want to be in it, but they love looking at it and watching it from afar.
Mhm.
So if that's going to, if that happens, nobody wants to be associated. It's like the plague. They don't want to be associated with it. So if you've done something like that, that can in turn create drama in the. That's the that would be at least from what I think would be the mindset of somebody's going to hire someone or something. Oh, you've been to prison. I know we have these rules enforced, but would that be a problem for people in my would that ruffle the waves for people in my work that are working for me and things like that that I've hired a felon to work in my business or whatever.
That's right. So with that being, what I'm saying is, it's going to be tough for you
Right.
compared to when I was growing up. That you didn't have it out there. You didn't, I guess, broadcast everything on
Well,
social media. You didn't have a platform to broadcast all your stuff.
well the,
And
the information wasn't as readily available as it is now. Whereas if you
right,
wanted to know something about somebody, you go what to the courthouse or look in the paper, right?
that's right.
Pretty much,
That's
or
right.
word of mouth.
You-
Those are the three
Right.
things.
That's it.
Now,
Now,
since you have those things readily available, you can do a background check on somebody without even trying.
but funny you say that. You can do a background check on someone very easily,
Mm.
but why people don't do it? And then they end up with somebody say, "Oh, I didn't know they had a record. I didn't know they had this."
Well, that's
And
fault. That's
that
fault on
person,
them.
huh?
That's fault on them. Like that.
That's right. That's right. There's no excuse for it. There's no reason for that to be a situation. Um, but you hear that claim. You hear that claim. Oh, I didn't know. They didn't know that person um had domestic violence issues, and I was a child molester. Didn't know all this. But like you said, it's right here. You could just put the name in and you get all the information you need.
Right. But here's the thing that goes to that what you were just talking about. You trying to give somebody a chance, and they still have. So what do you do? So you're stuck in. Do you not hire that person, and then you get that, oh, they don't want to hire X, Y, and Z because this, that, and the third, or do you hire that person and run the risk of having a fox in the hen house?
I say you run it, get some idea who you dealing with before, and then you make that decision with all the information. But you don't use not knowing something, or
Right.
I didn't do my homework as
Oh,
an
I
excuse.
got you. I'm just saying if you knew if you were doing that because you were talking about having the power to forgive and all that stuff.
No,
But
that's
if
right.
you've known their past transgressions, what do you do? That's what I was getting at. It's just like if you already know, and you talk about having the power to, have some to forgive somebody, this, that, and the third, come back to hiring them for what they may have posted something on Instagram, Twitter. They're like, oh yeah, I that was me, I was dumb, blah blah blah. But you see it, you have the physical evidence right there. It's like, do you not hire them because of what went
Let me
on?
put it like this. Let me put it like this. If I got somebody with the same credentials that doesn't have that out there, I'm gonna get the person who doesn't have it out there.
Well, of course, obviously, but I'm talking about the specific thing that you presented.
Okay.
Eh, Like, what do you do?
No, wha- that's what I'm saying. Don't. I'm trying to tell the youth and people out there, don't put yourself in that position.
Mhm.
Don't post stuff that you have to answer for in the future. Stop it. And that's one of the downfalls of this technology and how people are using it. And what I'm saying is, you know, with this uniform that we have on is different for other people with different uniforms. So you can say, oh, Jane does it, Joe does it, and all that other stuff. But unless they're wearing this uniform, it doesn't matter. The only person you got to worry about is the uniform you're wearing, your team. And you didn't pick it.
Right.
You didn't pick this. You didn't have a choice. This is the one you were born into. So that's why I say we got to make wiser choices, make better decisions, especially when you're young, because you don't really know where you're going to go. You don't know, you got so much time to make mistakes and overcome them. Don't post them. You know, just work on yourself. And then another thing, our resources. Number two, technology. We can circle back to technology if you got something else to say about it. But number two, one thing in our community is we don't use our resources right. When you're in your 20s, you ever heard of this thing called compound interest?
Mm-hmm.
You need to be making sure that works for you. What I'm saying is you need to be saving right now. When you're young, save something and stop buying high value stuff. You know, getting the bags, getting the shoes, getting the clothes, getting the bling and all that stuff, and the cars and all that stuff. Man, look, start building your wealth, saving it. You make your money, let your money make money for you.
Oh, okay.
That's what you need to be focusing on. Stop all that other stuff. You're throwing away your resources.
You
on a depreciating value, a depreciating asset.
You already know that might have applied to maybe when I was 20 years old, but that doesn't work now. I really don't see a lot of those people who are they struggling to get by at this point. You said 20. I was like, you must have forgot who you talking to. 20 years old, fresh out of college. Ain't no way you saving any money. You already got Uncle Sam in your back pocket on top of all those other bills that you paying for. what you mean?
You need to start saving.
You start saving when you're at 30.
It's going to be on your
20s,
side.
Early 30s. That's when you start doing that. That's when you get yourself established. Those early 20s, those are rough.
Believe me, I've been there. I've been there and done it. But I didn't have anybody telling me to do this.
Right, but
I didn't have anybody telling me to do this. You can tell somebody
to the blue in the face, but the circumstance ain't the same thing. I can tell you to save money when you're 20, but if you can't save any money when you're 20 years old, then what's the point?
So tell me, other than school, and which they give you a grace period before you start paying it. If you take student loans, they give you a grace time,
like 6 months. 6 months ain't enough.
But okay, 6 months. You're telling me now that all your bills in your 20s, you got serious bills like that
you're paying for your rent wherever you stay at.
Mm-hmm.
You're paying for.
Okay, go ahead.
You're paying for your. Who's living in housing on campus? Who's living in housing on campus? Unless you got that paper that says, "Hey, we're paying for your school." I don't know a lot of people that are staying on campus because that's rolled into that whole tuition and everything else.
In your 20s, you shouldn't have that much debt.
But you're going to. That's what I'm saying. From the time that I started school, like that was a thing. You're paying for all that stuff. It's all rolled in. It's all rolled into that tuition.
Don't they have the lottery thing where if you keep your GPA at a certain level, they'll pay for your school?
A lottery? Look at what you
That
just said.
lottery money, you know, they say it's for education. For
Yeah, but
education,
how
where
much of that? How
you
much of that is actually going towards those people? I think we've heard some news articles that are saying there's like $800 billion in funds for schools that aren't being used or something like that.
because y'all can't keep your GPAs up
No, that ain't
to
it.
get it.
That ain't it. Don't even try to say it. That ain't it. The schools ain't doing, not saying everybody, but the schools ain't doing what they're supposed to do to get that money. However, it's like, but what I'm saying, not everybody's going to be able to get that. I don't think it's feasible for everybody because schools got to make money somehow, right?
Right, right.
So if they
But you
give
can do it all.
everybody a scholarship, what 50,000
Mhm.
students a scholarship?
Mhm.
Who's going to be teaching? Who's going to be teaching? 50,000 students have full rides to go to school. That's why it's a selection process. It's a lottery, like you said. It's a selection
It's a
process. Not
lottery.
everybody's
It's a
going to
lottery.
get it. Not everybody's going to get it. So the ones that don't get it, those things you gotta have to pay for. And now, if you pay for it staying on campus, that just gets rolled into that one bill that you get as far as your tuition,
Okay.
room, and board, and all that stuff.
Okay, so you're telling me, you know, this is what you're saying. This is
Mm-hmm.
what you're saying, that a college student is in debt.
Yes, everybody knows
Okay.
that.
Okay. At what level? At what level is this unmanageable debt, or is this, because I know the school, you're not accounted for that until you graduate, after you
Mm-hmm.
graduate, that student loan. But what debt do you have other than that as
What
a
debt do
college
you
student?
have as a college student? I
Mhm.
mean, you're paying. Are you talking about expenses or actual things that are
Yeah,
just gonna?
go ahead, go ahead.
No, I'm
Actual
asking.
things.
Are you talking about expenses? Or are you talking about what's waiting for you after you get out of college?
No, I'm talking about actual expenses.
Okay, so you still got your books that you're paying for, which costs
Isn't that what the student loan? Isn't that what the student
no,
loan? You get the loan
no,
money if
no,
cover.
no. Some of them don't. Some of them don't. You got to pay out of pocket for school books. It just depends on the loans. It depends on what you get
Okay,
and everything like that.
okay.
Some loans cover it, some don't. So if you have one that just covers the base, then you're paying
Hmm.
for your meals. If you get
Right.
any, you're paying for your meals and you're paying for your books. Those are the two main things. And the books can end up being about $1,000, depending on what classes you're taking for that
Oh, yeah.
semester. And I don't know a lot of 20-year-olds that have
Oh,
that
they
have
still use books? They still use. I thought you said
yeah.
they don't even use books
Yeah,
anymore. I
they
thought you
use
said.
books. And you know what they're called? Digital books, and you still got to pay for them.
Okay, all right,
So
all
I
right.
don't know a whole lot of 20-year-olds that have $1,000 to spend on meals and books the first semester going into school.
But I'm thinking you're trying to make it seem like the debt is astronomical, and once they get, it's like being out here in the real world. Well, that's the real world as well. But
Yeah.
what I'm saying is being out here where you got room and board, you got a house, you got you know, you got electric, all this stuff. I know a college student has to pay that too if he's living off campus, room and board, all that. But don't they have assistance from their parents?
It depends.
Most of the time,
It depends. So
it depends. I
some
know,
parents
I
are
know.
just like, hey, go. You're out on your own. Go do your own thing. They let their kids learn life lessons. No assistance.
I'm right here.
Oh,
My
don't.
hands up.
Then why
It
you
was
going
me. It was me.
to?
But I paid for mine. I didn't have no student loans, but I had to pay out of pocket.
No, I understand, but I'm saying if you have kids and you just like go do your own thing, we're gonna let you learn it on your own. You're an adult now, so that's what I'm saying. Not every. Now I'm talking about. I'm not talking about flat across the board. This is like
Right.
it's probably might be like a 2-for-1 or maybe a 3-for-1. Like one that has parents probably assisting them with to 3 that don't.
So when I see young men
Mhm. Now don't get me wrong.
stacks of money
I
and
will say
all this
I was
stuff,
getting ready to say
dressing, buying
I
the
will say
bag and
this.
all this stuff. Am I
I will say
am I
this.
missing something?
No, I will say I was getting ready to get to that. I will say this. Now there are some that don't do the refund. You get like a student refund. I don't know if it's still a thing, but you used to get a student refund. I want to say at the beginning of the spring semester, or maybe it's each semester. I don't remember exactly what it was, but I know it was around tax time. You get like a student refund, which maybe was like 500-600 bucks, depending on it was a lot of things that factor into it, how much you got back. So you have that $500 or $600. Some people spent it just whatever. Okay.
Mhm,
Some
mhm.
used it, to try and buy their meal plans. It just depends. But
Right.
like I said, I will admit there's some that get that refund just like regular people. They get their tax refund. They lose their mind. They're like,
Their
oh,
mind, right.
um,
It's a lot. I won. I
exactly,
won. I got it.
exactly. So it really just depends. Like I said, I had some college roommates that they used the money, tried to use it as wisely as they could.
Mhm.
Um, but that money is like it's in your pocket and already gone because by the time you're getting that refund, you already have bills if you're not already behind on certain payments.
Yeah, and it's sad to say, especially with the credit cards stuff that I see a lot of young men and women fall in because they target young
Yes,
guys. Yeah,
100%.
they send you all this information. Oh, you get this card,
Yeah,
$5,000
but a,
credit
a
or
college
whatever.
student's like, yeah, I need that. I need this because if I'm on my own, I'm gonna need that. I need to eat. I need to sleep. I need.
But 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 I get what you're saying. You need to eat, you need to sleep. If it was only spent
Mhm.
on those things, I can understand.
Right. I mean,
But
there's not
it's
gonna. It's
not.
not. It's not going to be spent on those things, but a majority of it is spent on those things. If it's above 50%, it's a majority. So you can't argue with me on that. So it can be 51-49. It can be
Right,
50.
right.
It can be 51-49, but it's still 51%. So it's a majority.
But but we do. Well, we'll talk about the 49 or whatever. That is not used in that way, and now you're accumulating debt on something that you really didn't need.
Mm.
And and when I'm saying, so once you get out of school, you start working, you start buying this stuff that you don't need and not put in because you think you got you got so much time, but you need to use that time to build and work for you by putting it in 401k, investing and stuff like that. That's what you should be doing, but they're not doing it. They want to buy the girl a bag. They got to do this, take out, eat at these
I, I
restaurants and all this
I
stuff.
think that's
The
a. I
clothes,
think
the
that's a
cars.
very small amount that are doing what you're saying. I think a lot of them
Really?
are more so stressed about making sure unless they're moving back in with their parents, I think a majority of them probably stressed about trying to make sure they have a job that they're not living paycheck to paycheck in a sense. Something that'll give them a little bit of pocket change. Because I know,
So, okay.
because I know, at least for my demographic, people were
Mhm.
stressing the minute college because they're like, what am I gonna do for work? I can't. I don't have a, what? Because depending on where you go, of course,
Right,
because
right.
the location of where we're at, Southern Georgia, Georgia Southern, you know that school.
Hmm.
There's not
Right,
really. You're not in a city, like so.
right, 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 right,
So
right, right.
so where you gonna? Where am I gonna go for? Where am I gonna go for work?
Work
Like
on campus. Work on campus.
n-
I guess those jobs are already,
they're already
taken
gone.
by that.
Yeah, they're already
Yeah.
gone. By it, they're taken up by the seniors and the older crowd. Like
Okay.
I rarely knew anybody that was like a junior or sophomore that was working in like the bookstore or something like that. Like it was
Okay.
always the
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 senior.
yeah. They were the ones.
Okay.
I don't know why. It seemed like they were like, yeah, let's give the seniors a job and give them some work experience, something like that. I don't know if that was the case, but that it just seemed like that's what it was.
Was
Like you
okay.
really don't
Okay.
see. I really didn't see a whole lot of freshmen or sophomores doing that. But yeah, people were panicking. It's like, what am I gonna do? And like, I still know some people that are like, I got this degree, but it doesn't even what I'm doing now had no impact whatsoever on what I went to school for. It's just like, okay,
Oh, well, I mean, a lot of people fall in that
yeah,
to that realm, but it's but I just think the resources should be used differently.
Right.
And and then once you get my age, now you want to play catch up. And it's really you don't
Like
have that much time.
like I said, late 20s, early 30s is
Mhm.
when you
Right.
do is when I would recommend people doing what
Mhm.
you're telling them to do.
Okay.
Because by that time you should be comfortable or somewhat, finding your way because you're that time frame between 20 to
The sooner
20.
you do it, the better.
Right, of course, but I'm saying that time frame between 20 and
Mhm.
27, you're still trying to
Mhm.
figure out what the hell is going on. Like you're trying to figure stuff out.
I think these days it's even running into the 30s.
Possibly, but
Yeah.
it's just you have to. Everything's changing with the time. So what might have worked for once again that whole thing that we talked about, the game may be the same, but the board has changed. So what might have worked for your generation, oh, we're investing in their 20s, that might get pushed back a couple years for the next generation, and then the next generation gets pushed back. But you should start doing it honestly, like no later than 30. No later than 30. You should.
Man, I would hope they do it sooner because you look at things now. You think it was expensive. Look at the prices when you were around and look at it now. Totally different.
It's still the same. It's
And what I'm saying is when you were in your 20s
hmm.
and now, right now, those prices have gone up. You think it's going to go back down to that?
No, absolutely not.
So the fact that your resources,
The
you're going to get less for what you get now, you need to start early
I
because it's
mean the
not
math,
going down. It's not going down. It's going to
but
keep going up.
the math ain't mathing. How's the prices going up, but my pay still, but my pay didn't. So how you expecting? So I'm asking you, how do you expect somebody to do that if, like I said,
You got to
they
live within your means.
if they're
It's
trying to,
the
I'm saying if they're trying to live within their means, the math is not mathing. So if I'm still getting paid, let's say 725 in 2024,
725
that's
and what?
that's minimum wage. I'm just saying a minimum wage job is
Okay.
725.
Okay.
I'm just going off of minimum wage. I know some jobs go up to
Okay.
15 or whatever, but I'm saying if I'm paying
Right. Right.
725
Mhm.
and food is $21 or
Okay.
15 to $21, depending on what you buy. Like if you buy chicken, I know
Mhm.
chicken varies in price depending on what
Right.
you get, but I know the drumsticks are usually like 12 to 18 bucks in that range, depending on how many you get. But
Well, the thing is, and I'm just, I hate to say it, and some people might disagree with it, but you might have to work more than one job. You might have to put in a lot more hours than an 8 hour day. You might have to work two full-time jobs. I mean, I just you can't just sit and say, "Oh, I'm making 725, and woe is me. I worked hard for 8 hours." No, you might have to work
so
hard for 16 hours.
so let me
You
ask you
might have to work 16 hours.
so let me ask you this now. So if you're
Okay.
working 16 hours, and I know I hear this from a lot of people in your generation, enjoy your life while you're young, do these life experiences, this, that, and the third. So how would I do that when I have to sleep for a minimum? Well, I guess a maximum. You probably, I don't sleep for 8 hours, but I know
Right.
the
Who does?
recommendation is
Who really does? Right.
7 to
Right.
8 hours. So if you're working 16, you're sleeping 8. Where am I going to have time to have these life experiences that I need to have?
Well,
I'm just
either
I'm just asking just a general
okay.
question because you're saying
Okay. Okay.
work two jobs,
Right.
and I'm just providing
Okay.
a counter to what you're saying based on what has been told to me. Oh, enjoy your life while you're young, this, that, and the third. It's like, okay, but you're
Right.
telling me to work two jobs, so how am I going to enjoy life? The math ain't math in here. What do you
Okay.
want? What do you want?
I'm gonna tell you why. Like you said, the game is the same, but the board has changed. Well, that concept has to change until you get in a better position. I'm not saying you have to work 16 hours your whole life.
Mm,
I'm just saying you work 16 hours till you get yourself to a point where you don't have to work 16 hours.
mm. So basically,
But
to make
but you have
so,
to the thing is, don't expect to get something without sacrifice.
of course. What
You know,
I'm
so go ahead.
No, but what I'm saying is, from what I've been told, your 20s is your best years of your life. So if you're
Well,
if
you
you're,
the one said 27 to 30 start
I'm
investing.
talking about
So they got
investing, right?
all these years,
But
18
no,
to 27, that
but
is how
I'm,
they fun.
but I'm saying, you're saying working two jobs, right? If the 20s are the best years of my life, the 20s is usually when you experience most of your life experiences, right? Can
Hmm.
we agree on that?
Yeah, yeah,
For the
yeah.
most part. So if I'm making the sacrifice and I work from 20 to 30 doing two jobs, I may be better off,
Hmm.
on the back end, but I
Hmm.
miss everything. Like you talk about sacrifices.
What did you miss? Really, what did you
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 look
can
back, you look back on your 20s.
no. I'm
What did you
saying
really
if we
miss?
it I because I didn't work. I'm saying listen to me. I'm saying if you work two
Okay.
jobs for 10 years
Hmm.
straight, right? So you have no
Hmm.
time to do anything else. You miss 10 years of being involved in other people's lives or your friends
Give
and
me an
things like that.
age though. Give me an age when you're after that 10 years. How old
You're
you are
30.
after
That's what I
that 10?
said, from 20 to
You're 30.
30.
Oh man, you're in a great spot.
You didn't listen to a word I just said.
You
I
said you
said
worked for 10 years,
right. I said you're 30, you may be good on the back end. However, those experiences that you may have between 20 and 30, you miss out on. So you may not have those friendships that you may have cultivated. I mean, what are you gonna make? You got to make time for those people, right? That's what you're supposed to do. You have to make time for
right, right.
friends, family,
Okay, let me ask you a question.
potential
I'm gonna ask you
relationship.
some
Mm-hmm.
right. I'm gonna ask you a question. How many people, quote, in those 20s,
Mm-hmm.
friends that you deal with now?
One.
One.
Mm-hmm. What I'm saying is, if you don't have time to, if they're a good friend, they understand, they know what you're going through, whatever,
That's
whatever.
right. They
But
know
I'm
what you do.
saying, you still got to, you still have to call, because if I don't talk to you for 10 years, are you not going to feel some kind of way?
Oh yeah, but I mean,
Thank
look, you got
you. Thank That's
hold
all you
on a
had to
second. So
say.
you telling me, I I'll be honest with you. I suggest if somebody can grind like that,
Mhm.
they'll be in a great spot
Right.
in their life.
But all I'm saying is, how much is too much of a sacrifice? Is basically the question I'm asking. If you work two jobs for 10 years, is that too much of a sacrifice? Because you're supposed to experience and have those experiences in your 20s.
I think your experience with your coworkers, people at your job, you have an interaction with people there. You might even pick up
But
a
here's the
nice young
thing.
lady or a
Here's
man. She can pick a
here's
man
the
up.
thing though. You have
Mhm.
those relationships, and from my experiences, the more
Mhm.
people you hang out with and talk to at work, outside of work, you cultivate those friendships, they can look out for you, right? But if you don't have time to do that because you're working 16 hours a day, you just end up spinning your tires. Am I wrong? I mean, tell me if
I mean, possibly, but
I'm just presenting it as a question to you, like, because like I
right.
said, that was something that was it was like, enjoy your life, and enjoy your life while you're young, this, that, and the
Yeah,
third, because it's
yeah.
only gonna get harder as you get older. So like the 20s is basically that time frame where you have those experiences. But if you're working two jobs and you don't have any time to do anything else, is it too much of a sacrifice? Yeah, you'll be fine on the back end, but are you gonna be miserable because you didn't have any friendships or relationship or anything like that?
I just think depends on your focus.
Mhm.
And this is what I'm saying. If you grinding like that, which I highly recommend people to do, but if you are, I still you still need interaction with people, in which if your job is in that way, you are interacting with people, and to say, okay, I'm only going to work 8 and stay in debt, think that's an unnecessary stress that you put on yourself when you
Mhm.
could go the other way and work 16 hours
So do you think the
and not
balance
have that stress. Because you think about it, you just said you're
you
stressing. You're stressing about how I'm gonna pay this money, how I'm gonna eat, how I'm gonna
Right,
do
but
this, how I'm gonna
you're also stressing if you're working 16 hours a you're also stressing if you're working 16 hours a day and you can't make commitments that you want to make.
So you rather make commitments under stress of debt than
I
make it
mean,
under stress
so
of working.
you're making a commitment over being potentially overworked, depending on the job. It all depends on the job that you're
It
working.
depends on the job, right?
So you making the potential of having these commitments while you're overworked, because I know customer service is a mentally draining thing. So if you're going back to back, you don't have time to decompress. You go to sleep for 8 hours, and stuff's still on your mind when you wake up the next day because you're going right back into it.
I'd rather have that stress than the stress of debt, of bills.
I'm sorry, but
How am I gonna pay this bill? How am I gonna do this?
I'm sorry, but I'm not your therapist. I can't. I'd rather have the stress of the debt and working another job for maybe 4 hours, so I have time to decompress. If I work an 8-hour job and I work another job for 4 hours, I have 4 hours of downtime to decompress, get my mind right. Because if you're doing that whole 16, because I can tell you from experience, I worked 2 jobs, and that was not it. That wasn't it. Like waking up at 4 a.m. for one job.
Grinding,
waking up at 4 a.m. for one.
I love it.
Waking up at 4 a.m.
That's what I did. I worked 22 hours.
And look at you now. That's why you're not in the right state of mind. Working 4 hours, working from 4 to 11 at one, turn around to work 2 to midnight at another.
Man, you getting it. I like that. I like to hear that.
That was not it. You can be like, I like to hear it. That's not it. There was no time for me. I sleep for 4 hours. I sleep for 4 hours a day. What you mean?
That's all you need.
Okay.
That's all you need. That's all you need.
I'm gonna let you think that. I'm gonna let you think that. That's fine.
Okay. And number 3 is drugs. That this weed, this popular thing with weed, smoking weed and all this stuff. You hurt yourself.
I disagree. I don't think you're hurting yourself. If you have a dependency on it, like you need to have it 24/7, then yeah. But if it's like recreational, because that whole thing of weed, this, that whole brainwashing campaign, that's what I like to call it. That whole that whole brainwashing campaign that they did for when I was younger. It's like it wasn't that extreme. There's other drugs that are way worse that people get into. Weed. I've never seen in my entire life an angry weed head. Never. They're chill, relaxed. Never happens. So I don't know what in their right mind decided to do that propaganda. They could have used something else. But that's all I will say is that if it's an overdependency, then yeah, I get that. But I don't think, me personally, I don't think weed is the end all be all. Oh my God, you're smoking weed. Like it's like, oh, you can just go outside.
I know they're making it legal in some states, and it's probably going to be legal before you know it, just like alcohol.
Not in the South. You know that. That's not happening here.
But right.
You know, just like they cut off alcohol on Sundays. You know that ain't happening. Not anytime soon.
But the thing is, your career as a young person coming up, a lot of good jobs in professions and careers, you can't be a weed smoker.
It depends. I think a lot of jobs are loosening that restriction compared to what they were 10 years ago. Like I said,
probably
because the times are changing with everybody,
smoking it. All the young people smoking it.
Not even us. It's y'all too.
No,
not you, but I'm saying your demographic too. Smoking it too.
Yeah, a lot of people.
It's most of your demographic that's doing it. So I don't know what you're talking about.
No. Listen to you. Every time man, you can't even walk in the grocery store without.
How many times do I have to? I need it for my cataracts. I need it for this. I need it for my arthritis. How many times do I hear that on a daily basis?
Well, that's what's it?
Medical marijuana?
Medical
so what is
marijuana.
That? What is medical marijuana?
Just like.
So what is medical marijuana? What is medical marijuana?
That's marijuana. I get it. I get it.
Case
What
closed.
I'm saying is, what I'm
Case
saying is,
closed.
those people are through the work process. They didn't went. They didn't had their career. They're retired. They're on the downhill
Uh-huh.
slope.
Okay.
But you're trying to get up the hill,
Okay.
and you smoking. You don't have cataracts. You don't have none of that.
So if what I do,
You see what I'm saying?
I hear you, but what I
It's a
do,
difference.
what I do in my downtime, and it doesn't affect my performance.
Really?
What I do, I'm asking you, what I do in my downtime doesn't affect my performance. So why should I be held to that? Because this is a thing. This is a thing. This has been a thing that's been going on the past couple of years.
New age thinking. Whatever I do on my time,
Should it not?
It should. It shouldn't, but it does.
That's what I'm saying, though. If it doesn't affect my performance, why is it being looked? Why is it being frowned upon and things like that? That's the biggest thing that I have an issue with is when people bring their, not necessarily the person, but employers or other people bring the outside work into the workplace, and then it's being held against the person. Like, okay,
and that's in every aspect, because you say something and they hold it against you, and you can lose your job if you say something against another group or something like that.
That's what I'm saying. Like, what I say, I mean, it just, if I say it behind closed doors, like if we're talking and this wasn't like a podcast or something, I should not, like if we were working together and I said something to you behind closed doors, I should not hear that come back in the workplace. Like,
but technology,
no,
just like that. Number one,
what I said was
put it out there,
behind closed doors. Like if I had a one-on-one,
usually people do it on
I understand that's why they're not thinking. What I'm saying is these things happen behind closed doors, and people are bringing it to the workplace. That's what I have a problem with. If you say it on online, you have every right to be scrutinized for it, like because you shouldn't be putting that out there. Granted, it is your own private thing. But you're, as they say, you're a representation of that business, even on off hours, which is dumb. But but here's the thing: you don't put where you work at on your profile. Don't put where you work at on your profile. You won't have a lot of those issues. So yeah, it's a slippery slope. I get it. But I like I said, that whole weed thing, you'll get a hard no from me, dog. Like,
oh yeah, you're gonna get a hard no. I'll probably get a hard no from a lot of people, because a lot of people do it. But the thing is, you do that, a lot of times they're gonna drug test you.
Right.
That stuff is still in your system.
If you know that,
you're not gonna get those jobs or those career starts.
If you know you're gonna get drug tested.
A job that's going to pay you a decent amount of money if you got weed in your system. It's not going to happen. They ain't going to give you a top secret clearance and you smoking weed.
So let me ask you this. Let me ask you this.
Even though it's on your own time.
Let me ask you this though, because if you're an employer and you need a specific person, right? You test them. They have a point. One? I don't know how the test works.
I don't know how the test works either. Right.
But if you're an employer and you have somebody that far exceeds their credentials of what you're looking for, applying for your job, do you not hire them off the fact that they potentially failed with the 0.1%, or do you sit down and talk to them and be like, "Hey, is this something that is going to be an issue?"
Okay, most companies will.
Just automatically
if you come to them and say, I got an issue, I got a problem, it could be drug, alcohol, whatever it is, they will put you in a program and monitor you through the process.
That's not what I'm talking about. I'm saying that somebody recreational, like they do it maybe one day on the weekend, right? They come in.
You probably lose your job.
I'm saying they're applying for your job.
You wouldn't get it.
So you'd say no?
No, because it's not just the fact that the company, it's going to be no, because you might be driving and you working for my company and you get in an accident, you hurt somebody
on the weekend.
You had this drug in your system
on the weekend,
and I knew it that you smoked it.
But I'm saying they do it on their time when they're not working.
Yeah, yeah, they're doing it all the time. But I drug tested you.
Hmm.
I saw that in your system,
Okay.
right? And I said, okay, I still hire you.
But I'm saying, do you not talk to them to find out if it's a problem? Because if they come back, what I'm saying is if they come back, I'm guessing it's off of percentages. I don't know 100%. Forgive me, everybody listening to this. I'm guessing it's off of 1% because I know they used to do like the hair sample or whatever, and
Right,
the
right.
long
Hair follicles.
and they
Right,
can see like if it's closer to the root, then you've done it recently or whatever. But
right,
I'm
right,
saying
right.
like
And they can see it
right,
further down how long. Right.
but I'm saying like if
Yeah,
they
they
do it
did it to
like
me too.
okay, Eh, if they do it, what I'm saying is if they do it like once a month, that's their de-stressor.
Right.
I know people have a lot of different ways to de-stress. That's their de-stressor. They do it once a month. So
Mhm.
they do the drug test, and let's just go for the hair example. It's
Mhm.
maybe at the tail end. They test it and it's like, oh, he has traces of it, but a person,
Mhm.
they're like, hey, I only do it one day out the month as my,
Mhm.
as what I do in my off time or what. You have a conversation if it gets to that point. Do
Right.
you still monitor that, or do you even bother listening to that person? Even if his credentials far exceed what you're looking for, and he's willing to work for you, he's willing to put in the time of work, but he says, "Hey, I do this recreationally one day out the month on the weekends on my downtime."
Okay. This is the only because what I'm looking at the corporate side of it.
Right.
I'm trying to look at the corporate side of it. If I'm if he has those credentials, I know I need him. I said, look, show me that you've gone to get treatment, some type of treatment
So why
program.
would he need to get treatment though? That's the thing.
Because
I'm talking about marijuana. Why would he need to get treatment for something he does one time out the month? It's not like it. It's not like he needs to do it all. That's his de-stressor. Is what I'm getting at. His de-stressor. Why would he need to go get treatment if he
hey,
does it one time out the month?
what I'm saying is, I'm
Hmm.
looking at the corporate side of
No, I hear you.
it. Okay, okay. I get this person. This person said he get he came back to me. I found it in this
Hmm.
hair follicle that he has used it at some time.
Okay.
Okay, I know he's a good person. I know, he said he used it once a month. I need something to because this is insurance. You got insurance, you got
Right.
different things that companies provide for their employees,
Hmm.
and their rate per employee is based on their hiring practices.
Right.
So if I hire somebody knowing that they use marijuana once a month without trying to get them help or help them to not be able to have to use it once a month,
Hmm.
then it's going to be on the company and it raise their bottom line healthcare cost
Hmm.
per employee.
Not like it's not already going up, but okay.
But but
No,
but
I hear
you
you.
see what I'm saying?
I hear
So
you.
that's how they kind of look at this stuff. And
Mm.
then if there's a company vehicle involved, you're driving a vehicle. Maybe that one day was Sunday.
Yeah, but see, if it's
Got
a
in the
if
car
it's
on Monday,
I don't know. See, here's
and you
the
got in an accident, and that marijuana was in your system, and it's been a history that I hired you
mhm.
knowing you smoke once a month. That could be a major lawsuit to the company.
Right. If it's a driving position, then yeah, I understand that. But if it's you're working at a desk job, or you're working from home or something like that, me personally,
Mhm.
I don't see what the big deal about it is if they are performing at or above their productivity level.
Now
Then
we talk about hiring or already hired.
and now if I'm hiring, I'm not going to hire them for a driving job. I'm saying if I'm hiring for a driving job, that's probably out the question. Like
Right.
I'm not going to do that. But if it's a desk job, I'm not really going to stress about what you do Me personally, I'm not going to stress about that. If you're doing what you need, if you're doing your job as everybody should be doing, if you're doing your job, then there's nothing to worry about. Like,
But see, that's what I was talking about earlier
mhm.
with social media. But see, if you own the business where you can hire a young man or woman under those circumstances, you have the power to do that.
Right, I understand that.
But
That's why I was
if you're not that person, they're not going to give you that chance.
right. That's why I was presenting the question to you as you were
Hmm. The
the
hiring,
the owner,
um,
hire, whatever you want, however you want to put it. Like, would you, if that was the right? Because you were saying drugs, and I was like, I don't see marijuana as that big of a deal at this point. Like,
but people say it's a gateway drug where you can start
okay,
using other things,
right, and you can also go huff paint and do all these other things that you have a lot
and they
more
do that.
and you have a lot more access to outside of marijuana. I don't want to hear. I don't want to hear that. You have access to paint that you can go buy in the paint store with no ID and get high off of that, compared to trying to find somebody that's gonna sell you some marijuana. Paint should be the gateway drug to everything else.
but but you hear about all these young people dying from fentanyl, oxy, thinking they're on the Xanax and all
Right,
this
but
stuff,
that's not
taking
marijuana.
stuff. But they started a lot of the stories you
I'm
hear.
not.
They started
No,
with they
no,
started with
no.
marijuana. I'm
No.
serious. I'm trying to save the youth here.
I honestly don't. I don't think all those started with I find it hard to believe that they all started with marijuana. Honestly, I
So you
think it
think it
was
started with paint? I
probably
mean,
huffing glue, huffing paint, hanging out with the wrong
oh
people
man.
that got them high.
Oh yeah, it's
That's the
definitely a
gateway.
certain.
Hanging out with your friend, hanging out with the friend
Oh,
that's always getting high off of those things. Not necessarily marijuana.
so you don't think marijuana is a gateway?
Oh, I think personally, I think that was just a bunch of propaganda to get people elected and pushed into office.
But I mean, marijuana's been around since
Yes,
before us.
exactly.
Before us.
What do you think? What do you think the
And
people over in what was it? I forget
the
what the
poppy
name of.
plants was around before us too.
Yeah. What
But
was it? What was it that they used to what was the name of that they always used to smoke over in
hey, hey,
was it hash?
hash. That's
Yeah.
it, hash.
And you don't see those?
But but what I'm trying to do is save the youth so that they can
I hear you.
won't be denied positions
I hear you.
that they can get because of some small little thing that they can not won't even get started with.
Right.
Don't limit your opportunities. If if you know they're gonna drug test you for most jobs, good ones, good ones. I'm not, and I'm out of that mindset. Get a job, do this, but you got to do something
Right.
productive, not destructive. Productive and be a productive member of society to get those top notch jobs. A lot of times, you can't have drugs. You can't be
Right.
smoking weed.
I mean, you got to understand that going into
Or
it,
you
but
gonna
I'm
limit yourself to McDonald's and Burger King and stuff like that.
you can work upper mid level job and still do those things on recreation. I know people that do it. I'm just not. I,
You're not just talking.
I
You're not talking about. Okay, okay.
I know people that do
I
it.
don't know any. I don't know any.
It's just like they don't if they're
I,
not.
well, I don't know. They didn't make it known to me that they do,
They
but
probably
I
do it.
don't
They
know.
just don't say. That's what I'm saying. They probably do. They
That's
just
right.
don't say anything. And like I said, they do that in their free time. Why would I need to divulge that information to you if I do it in my free time? That's why you don't put, like I said, don't put where you work on social media. Get off Facebook because that's going to be the most detrimental one for you because they ask you where you work at on Facebook.
That's right. Yeah. So,
So
but those are just three things that I wanted to stress to the youth and to our people that this stuff is going to hold you back. It's going to limit you. And we got enough limits. Now, don't add to it. Make better use of your resources. Watch what you put out here on social media. And that drugs, I know it might make you feel good or whatever, but if you looking for a future, do you want a doctor who smokes weed working on you? I don't know. I don't know. Maybe your
But I
guys
mean,
would
here's
feel
once again, you're not gonna know unless they divulge that information. So
until they mess up and leave something in
they're
you
not.
or not.
I think they would. If they're a doctor, I would believe they have more common sense than to sit there and do all that. They probably did it to get it through doctor school so they could de-stress.
Right. But like I said, if you just try to like I said, and with your resources, when you get money, man, it's there to spend, but start investing your money so that it can make money for you. Stop blowing it on these girls out here, the women blowing it on
So
things they don't need, eyelashes, hair, and all that stuff. And guys want to be big baller and
so
all this stuff, the jewelry, the clothes, and all that stuff. Man, look, it's a time for everything. Get your paper up, stack your bread, get some stuff, get your house, get established. Don't worry about all this other stuff. Don't worry about the Joneses. Don't try to keep up with anybody. Just get your stuff together. You know, if you get help if you own any type of drug that you know you can't, whatever stress relief you need, find some other way. Work out. Hey, we don't do enough of that in our community.
so
Working out. Hit the gym. Hit the gym. And stop putting all this junk on social media.
so let me ask you this before we get out of here.
All right.
Would you say buying Jordans would be an investment? So
You know what? It is.
okay.
An investment.
That's all I wanted to hear. That's all I wanted to hear. Because I was like, that's considered investing in our society.
Right.
They buy them and then they don't wear them and they resell them for 2 to 3x.
Hey, I just, I was enlightened about pictures. Did you get the memo too about the cost you bought, a piece of artwork, and come to find out it could be worth so much more?
Mm-hmm.
That's using your money wisely.
I was just asking because
The Jordans is the same thing. You could buy a pair of Jordans.
Oh, I know. Trust me, I know. I'm just saying because a lot of people don't look at that as a way to invest when it comes to this. Like, oh, it's appreciating value. It's like, not really, because
not really.
It's just like collecting baseball cards or any sports memorabilia. The longer you keep it, the more it goes up in price, especially if it's a brand that isn't sold anymore or produced anymore.
That's right. And you find it in fairly good condition, you got something.
Yeah, because I saw a show the other day where it was like, dude had Jordans that he paid like $400 for, and the dude wanted to buy them for like $2,000 to $3,000, something like that.
Yeah. So that's what I'm talking about. If you can do that, that's what you need to be doing. But just blowing it on something and that's a depreciating asset, value depreciates, it's throwing your money away.
Okay.
All right, I just want to make sure I relay this to Tack because so he can get it to these young people out here.
And it's still not a gateway drug. I don't care what you say.
That's what they say. What they say.
And what happened to all those? That's what they say is now. Do you see them anymore? No. Okay, then. Because if that was the case, they'd still be around and be in the business, wouldn't they?
That's true.
All right then.
All right.
All right then.
All
We'll see you all next week. I'm out of
right,
here. Later.
all right, man. All right.